Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down the story of a true icon. I mean, he's more than just a footballer. He's a global phenomenon, and we're going to dig into the key moments that made him who he is.
So here's the big question, right? How does a kid from a tiny island go on to become arguably the most famous athlete on the entire planet? Well, this is the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, and we're going to trace that incredible journey, looking at all the highs and lows that created a legend.
Okay, so our story kicks off on the small Portuguese island of Madeira, in a city called Funchal. Now, Ronaldo's early life, it was anything but easy. In fact, he faced some serious roadblocks that could have stopped his career before it even got started.
I mean, just think about this for a second. Any one of these hurdles could have been the end of the story. His family was so poor, his mother actually considered not having him. Then, he gets expelled from school at 14. And then, at 15, he's diagnosed with a racing heart condition that needs surgery. But through all of that, his focus on football was just absolute.
His talent was just impossible to ignore, and his rise was, well, incredibly fast. At just 12 years old, he gets signed for a pretty modest £1,500. But then, a few years later, after just one single friendly match where he completely ran circles around Manchester United's players, that fee just skyrockets to a record-breaking £12 million for a teenager. It was insane.
And after that debut, even the club's biggest legends knew they were seeing something totally different. I mean, come on, when the great George Best says it's a compliment to him to be compared to an 18-year-old kid, you know you're not just watching a great player, you're watching a phenomenon arrive. And that phenomenon was about to be turned into a legend.
So, he arrives in Manchester, he's this flashy, kind of inconsistent teenager, but his transformation into one of the world's best really began under the guidance of one man.
You see, Sir Alex Ferguson looked past all the flashy stepovers and tricks. He basically took Ronaldo under his wing and forged that raw talent, turning him from this kid who just wanted to entertain the crowd into a ruthless, efficient winner. That relationship was pivotal. It didn't just sharpen his skills, it literally defined his whole career path.
And Ronaldo himself has never been shy about that influence. He called Ferguson a father figure in football, a guy who was absolutely crucial. And, that mentorship really paid off, leading to this incredible period of success for both him and the club.
At Manchester United, his conquest was just methodical. First, he conquered England with a Premier League title. Then, he took Europe, leading them to a Champions League victory. And finally, the entire world. By the time he was 23, he'd won his first Ballon d'Or, the award for the best player on the planet. He'd won everything in England, so a new challenge was waiting.
And that move to Spain, it didn't just break the transfer record, it completely obliterated it. At the time, £80 million was just an unheard of amount of money, and it set the stage for what would become one of the greatest rivalries in the history of sports.
So now we're at Real Madrid, where Ronaldo's goal scoring just went to another level. I mean, astronomical levels. He was now in a direct head-to-head battle in the same league with his great rival Lionel Messi, and their competition would go on to define an entire generation of football.
For the better part of a decade, these two guys, they didn't just dominate football. They were football. It felt like every single weekend, the whole world was watching. Ronaldo scores 2, Messi scores 3. They were in this relentless, head-to-head battle for every trophy, every award, and every record, pushing each other to heights nobody thought was even possible.
And as Ronaldo himself said, that rivalry was a huge part of it. They pushed each other. But while that competition defined an era, the individual numbers he put up at Madrid are what cemented his place in history forever.
His time in Madrid is what really cemented his legacy as this unstoppable goal-scoring machine. The numbers are just staggering. He became the top scorer in the entire history of the sport, with over 950 official goals. Let that sink in.
And he carried that same dominance over to the international stage, becoming the all-time leading goal scorer for his country, Portugal, too.
And then in Europe's biggest, toughest club competition, the Champions League, he set another record that might just never be broken. His consistency at the highest level wasn't just impressive, it was totally historic.
So when you put it all together, the records are just mind-blowing. But beyond just the goals, get this, he also became the first player ever to win league titles in England, Spain, and Italy. That just proved he could adapt and completely conquer any league he played in.
But Ronaldo's influence, it goes so far beyond the football pitch. Over his career, he has meticulously and very smartly built a global empire.
His brand, CR7, is this massive, multifaceted machine. It pulls in his fame through his own fashion lines, huge sponsorships with giants like Nike, a colossal social media presence, and a really significant commitment to philanthropy.
And to give you some perspective on his influence, he was the first person on Earth to pass 1 billion followers across all the major social media platforms. And he's used that massive platform to do some pretty significant charitable work.
His philanthropy really shows a different side to the global superstar. We're talking million-pound donations for disaster relief, but also personal commitments, like regularly donating blood, which, fun fact, is the reason he famously has no tattoos. It shows a desire to give back that seems really rooted in his own journey from poverty.
And of course, there's this. The SU. You've seen it everywhere. Even his goal celebration has become this worldwide cultural thing, copied by athletes and fans all over the globe. It's so iconic it actually has its own name.
So, after all that, what is his ultimate legacy? Is it the mind-bending records he set on the field? Is it the global brand he built that basically rewrote the rules for athlete marketing? Or is it just the incredible story of sheer willpower that took a kid from a small island and turned him into a worldwide icon? That's the big question his amazing career leaves us to think about.